Good morning, everybody. What a delight it is to be bringing this video to you this morning. It's 7:30. I'm sat in my studio. The birds are singing and I've got my morning voice on too, so excuse the huskiness. So over the last 3 days I've been completing and constructing this journal. The one project is a 7-day project of constructing and completing a journal in a week during lockdown. And today is the first day that I get to play in my journal, to experience whatever this journal is going to support me to process. You can see here I've got a little notepad, I've got my pens. And the first thing I ever do when I am setting to a project is just sit with myself and write down whatever thoughts that I've got going on in my head. Some people imagine that they can just sort of sit and paint an inspired piece, and certainly sometimes that is the case for me, but because I wanted this journal to almost be like a visual journal, a visual diary of my inner processing, I wanted to sort of blitz some of that out of my head. I find this avoids the overcomplication sometimes, though I have to admit some of these pieces did get a little bit overcomplicated. The previous videos in the one series have been more of a tutorial, and I am going to talk through my process in each of these pieces, but I thought it would be more interesting for you just to kind of watch me play. So the thought processes, I want to just talk a little bit about that perhaps. Each day I'm going to sit and decide where I'm at. This particular day I was thinking about the loss of human contact. I know that lots of people have been talking about the absence of hugs and kisses and holding hands and all that sort of stuff, but actually for me the absence of human contact is something quite different. I've begun to realise how much human contact communicates to me simply by you being right in front of me. I can see how your body responds to things that I say or things that you say. And it just isn't the same down a video camera. And so I wanted to process this. So this particular piece, I remembered that I had sketched out the other day a face wearing a mask, an owl mask. So I stuck that down. And then I've put some bits and pieces of background stuff on it. Little note, slight problem with the washi tape that I made, which is that mine doesn't seem to want to peel off from my plastic cases. But no problem, I just cut it out and I stick it down. So you can see here I'm using some of that lovely glossy paper that I made, and I'm going to stick that down. That's going to be the wing. When I first did the owl, I drew her looking towards me, but actually when I stuck the wings on, I realised she was sort of looking over her shoulder. So not sure what that means, but we're going to play with it anyway. So I put the wings down and then I start sort of painting and creating in the face. Now, quite a lot of times I arrive at a piece and I think, I like that, or I'm getting frustrated with this now. And the benefit of doing this particular project is that I've got a whole section to work through. So as soon as I hit frustration point, I move on to the next page. So I really didn't like that bit of yellow paper I've got down the bottom, and I wanted to cover it up. And I have on my desk with me various different mediums, and this one that I've just used is called an earth texture. So I went and cut out some magazines because I wanted to add some imagery, and I found this little girl holding a telescope. Now, of course, while that earth texture is still wet, I want to let that dry naturally. So I move on to the next picture, while I'd been looking for something for the owl page, I found this woman in a bubble, and I was thinking about that and how that then sort of progressed from my thought process around feelings and what you can and can't pick up from people when you're not with them. And so I loved that image of that woman in the bubble. So I'm just now playing with bits and pieces of collage material, seeing where they'll take me, seeing what works, what doesn't work. So once I'd stuck this dress image down onto this woman, and to be quite honest, this ended up being a kind of journal day of people, really. I used quite a lot of people in this one, so that may or may not stick for tomorrow. Anyhow, once I'd stuck that dress down, I realised how much it reminded me of our planet, of the Earth. And so I went and had a look to see if I could find an image of the Earth, which you'll see me find in a minute. Okay, time for the other piece to dry. So back to this owl, and this little girl that I've got here that's holding a telescope. Oh, just popping in some colour on the eyes there. The little girl with the image of the telescope, and again this just shows how pieces progress as you play with them. So I popped down her onto the page, and then I realised that that paper that I'd used to make the owl's body has got lots of hearts on it, and I decided to move that little girl down so that her telescope could be looking directly at one of the hearts, which I end up painting in turquoise to make it stand out. So now I have my imagery kind of sorted, I can go in putting in some details, just some things to make this page pop a little bit. So I pop down some borders, and then I start my writing. Now obviously all of my writing is just sort of my own personal ramblings of what I discover as I do the image. And this really is a sort of rambling about how I enjoy being in a world with unmasked people. So back onto our lovely little angel. Here she is. So you're going to see me using this technique quite a lot today. I grab my charcoal pencil, I draw outlines around things, and then I buff it out just to sort of give a little shaded effect. I also sometimes add water to it, that gives a more thinner effect. So here is my globe picture. I cut a section of that out and also some words, which is you matter. And as I was picking out the letters you matter, I was thinking of this notion in the world of key workers or essential workers. I love the term, and I absolutely agree there are some essential workers and key workers that we have in the world. And I was thinking of, what does that then make me? Am I a keyhole? Just, you know, again, my own inner ramblings. So I cut out a keyhole first, and then I decided I didn't like that, so I painted one using my Indian ink. I guess I wonder what a keyhole worker is. Somebody perhaps who is capable of listening, of receiving information, and I think that's really important, isn't it, that all of us need to be people who are prepared to listen. So remember those lovely contrast papers that we made? This is where they come into their own, really. This page is all sorts of wishy washed out pastel colours, which is beautiful. However, it does need something to help all those colours pop, and that little strip of black and white contrast at the top just helps that out. And then it's time to do some writing. Okay, so 2 pages down, and I've got the insert of one, so the middle of my signature, and then I've got these 2 pages, and this was really fun to do. I want to tell you my thought process on it. So still staying in today's theme, which is what it's like to be in relationship when you can't actually physically be with people. And I thought, because this actually isn't the middle of my signatures, it's kind of 2 halves either side, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to construct it as if it was the middle, and then it is forcibly locked down from each other by putting a piece of paper in the middle. You're going to see what I mean when I finish the journal. So I find some imagery. This is image of 2 pots with cutlery in it. Why did I do that? I guess there was something about food and what we're having to digest, you know, all that sort of stuff. My brain works in very unusual ways when it's thinking creatively. I have these little images of front covers of magazines. This is the Womankind magazine, and I really like them, and I've been wanting to use them as heads for a while. Then I get 2 pictures of 2 doors. Obviously we are all in shutdown behind our doors. I get some feet from another magazine, and I construct some little collage people.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you've tied a rope to me.
I have to say, sometimes when you get the idea for a page and you start playing with it, you know, this is one of those pages that got a little bit too complicated early on, and I really had to sit back from it, come back to it. This actually took a lot longer than obviously I've edited down the videos. To start off with, I had that woman on the left was in blue because it matched the background. The woman in right was orange because it matched the background. Then I didn't like it because it just didn't sit comfortably with me, so I repainted her arms. She became turquoise as well, as you're probably going to see now. Then I just didn't like the background at all, so it's probably hardest to see on this video, but this was one of those mushed up pages where I had a swirly piece of cardboard in the background. So I ended up following that swirly cardboard with some pink paint, because you know what, when all else fails, grab the pink. This was when I really started hating this page. Oh God, they just looked like Egyptian mummies on a pale background. I just hated it, and I knew it needed a huge injection of something. I gave them some hats because when all else fails, pull out the hat and then the pink comes on, and I really love it once the pink is in there. I hope you can see how this sudden injection of a kind of darker contrast colour really helps these figures pop out. And as soon as I'd done that, I kind of fell back in love with the concept and the idea of this piece. So I grabbed some lettering, some Letraset lettering to help these two kahis. Again, remember, they are going to have a page in between them, so they're sort of separated at birth, really, these two pages. When I put my journaling on this, I had a really good think. Did I want the journaling to also be something that's separated? And I did do it, because that for me is what's going on. It's like this communication that I'm so used to doing, which is using my physical body and your physical body to tell a narrative. You know, when that's divided, it gets confusing. So I choose to make this page a little bit confusing. So remember those cutlery that I cut out? Again, this stuff that we're having to digest. I found some lovely heart washi tape and I stuck a heart on each of it, because I guess the one thing that we do have when we don't have anything else is compassion and love. This page was a delight to create. You know, at this stage I was getting tired, I was getting out of my creative head, and I've had this image on the bottom right there for a long time shoved in my snippets box, and I just thought, this is brilliant. I want to put this, because when I was working on my themes, there were two things that were going on for me. One was this lack of communication by not being physically together, but the other actually was how my creativity is blooming, that with a little bit more space and a little bit more time around things, it really has been possible for me to be quite creative. So I love this page. It's two people going for a walk. Me and my husband are doing that at the moment, so we go for a little walk in the woods, and this page became about when my creativity blooms. You're going to see, I'm going to tell you now so I can just let you watch the progression of this page. I pull out from my trinket box, and you know, we made these in video too, these little balloons. I stick them on my page, they become trees, and then I find words that relate to creativity and stick them in the middle. maybe there was something about doing those kind of more complicated pages at the beginning that just allowed me to open up and get a bit easier on myself. This green page just spoke countryside and earth and nature to me. And I drew this pregnant lady on the left hand side, and she was going to be a person to start off with, and then I realised that she just looked like a tree. So I turned this page into a tree. She's a woman, she's a pregnant woman, she's also a tree. And one of the things that I've been really observing, and I might play with this a little bit more tomorrow, is as we've gone into lockdown, how the earth is just, just waking up and is just so full of wonder and love. And I feel, this is going to sound really hippie, I feel really loved by the earth right now for everything else that's going on. There's this beautiful noises of birds and creatures. I know all across the world that the earth is just coming back and is just constantly available for us. So this for me was a page about how capable, the amazing capacity the earth has to both love us and to receive our love when we give it back to her. I remember sometimes, when you're feeling a bit bitter, when somebody has treated you badly for a long time, the last thing you want to do is welcome them with open arms. Yet I really think the earth is doing that for us right now. So the final page, and I'm going to do one of these every day, which is all about what have I learnt today, or what has today taught me. So this is always going to be a simple page, but it is about me digesting whatever it is my journaling has processed. And so there's a little bit of sort of private journaling in here, which I won't go into the details of, but essentially, coming back to my original point, there is something so incredibly important about human to human contact that I don't think I will ever take for advantage again. So thank you for watching. I hope I've inspired you. I will be completing some more pages in my journal tomorrow, and I will stick that video up. Thank you for the encouragement and for all the lovely pictures that I am seeing. And do leave a comment below if you are taking part and if you too are heading and constructing this journal. See you ever so soon.